My mother-in-law called to say, Monday at 10 a.m. at the notary's office. I'm selling your country house. You need to sign the papers. I've already taken a deposit from the buyers. She sold the house without my consent, so I shocked her. The sun lazily filtered through the curtains, casting whimsical shadows on the log walls. This house was all that was left of my father. Memories of summer days spent here, of his stories, of the smell of freshly cut grass and smoke from the grill, overwhelmed me. Now this place belonged to me, and the thought of it both warmed and worried me. My father had not left me much, but this country house was priceless. Not in monetary terms, of course, but rather as an island of tranquility in the stormy sea of my life. I worked as an accountant in a small firm. My life was predictable and, frankly, a little boring. My husband, Ian, was a good man, but a bit spineless. He always tried to avoid conflicts, which often led to him simply agreeing with his mother, Susan. And then there was Susan. This woman knew how to create tension, even in the most relaxed atmosphere. Right after the funeral, as soon as I had more or less recovered, my mother-in-law began to inquire about the country house, gently but persistently. So, Maria, how is your inheritance? She asked one day over tea, as if it were some trifle, not a house full of memories. I kept silent then, not wanting to argue. I knew that Susan considered everything that belonged to my family to be common property. In her understanding, marriage was a merger not only of souls, but also of assets. A country house is nice, of course, Susan continued, but it is expensive to maintain now. Heating in the winter, and you and Ian are already struggling. Ian sat next to me, silently stirring sugar in his tea. I felt his pleading gaze, do not rock the boat. But I could not. The country house was more than just real estate to me. Susan, I am not going to sell it, I said firmly, trying to maintain a calm tone. It is a memory of my father. And besides, we can rent it out in the summer. It would be a nice addition to our budget. Susan winced as if from a toothache. Renting is not the best solution. It needs repairs, and who would want to live in an old house? We will do the repairs, I replied, gradually. It is my house, and I will decide what to do with it. That evening, the conversation ended in nothing. Susan took offense demonstratively and went to her room, slamming the door. Ian, as always, tried to smooth things over, but I was adamant. I felt that if I gave in now, I would lose not only the country house, but also a part of myself. A few weeks passed. Susan behaved with pointed coldness, avoiding me and speaking to me through clenched teeth. Ian was caught between two fires, trying to please both women, but only making the situation worse. One evening, when Ian was late from work, I accidentally overheard Susan's phone conversation. Yes, I am sure everything will be fine. Ian is under my control. Maria will not go anywhere either. The money? Of course, I am waiting for it. The deposit tomorrow. The notary on Monday at 10 in the morning. Excellent. It is a deal. I went cold. I immediately understood what was happening. Susan had decided to sell the country house behind my back, using Ian's weakness and my own reluctance to engage in open conflict. Outrage and anger overwhelmed me. How could she do this? Betray my trust, trample on my feelings. I did not sleep all night. I went over all possible courses of action in my head, make a scene, try to talk to Ian. But I knew it was useless. Susan was a master manipulator, and Ian was her main victim. Susan was exultant. The plan was ripening like a juicy apple ready to fall into her hands. She had found buyers, a young couple, Anna and David, charmed by the look of the country house, its tranquility, and its proximity to nature. Susan presented herself as a kind of benefactress, solving their housing problem and at the same time ridding the family of a useless asset. Yes, a wonderful place, she cooed to Anna on the phone, while Ian, with a guilty look, fiddled with his papers in the next room. Ideal for a young family. Fresh air, apple trees. Your children will be happy. Anna, judging by her voice, already saw herself as the mistress of this paradise. We fell in love with the house at first sight. And when can we see the documents? Oh, that is all just a formality, Susan replied airily. My son is the owner. He is a hard-working man, but I will take care of everything. I am a mother, after all, everything for the family. She arranged a meeting for them the next day, assuring them that all the documents would be ready. The meeting took place in a small cafe near the country house. Anna and David arrived with shining eyes. Susan, dressed in her best suit, radiated confidence. So she began, pouring tea into cups. I understand you are seriously interested. Anna nodded. Yes, very. We are ready to make a deposit. Susan smiled cunningly. Excellent. As a sign of serious intentions, a deposit would be very welcome. $2,000 will be enough. David hesitated a little. $2,000 is quite a large sum. Oh, come on, you two. Susan made a surprised face. For such a country house, it is just a drop in the ocean. But it guarantees that you will get it. Others are interested too, you know. Anna nudged David with her elbow. Do not worry, David. We have decided. David sighed and took a wad of cash from his bag. Susan accepted the money with a satisfied smile, carefully counted it, and hid it in her large handbag. That is wonderful, she said. On Monday at 10 in the morning, we meet at the notary's office. We will sign all the necessary papers there, and the house is yours. Returning home, Susan called me. Her voice was as sweet as molasses, but there was steel behind that sweetness. Maria, my dear, she sang, on Monday at 10 in the morning, be so kind as to come to the notary's office. We need to sign some papers about the house. Nothing complicated, just a formality. Ian will be there too. Sitting at the kitchen table sorting through papers related to the inheritance, went cold. I immediately understood what had happened. The deposit, the buyers, the notary. Susan had decided to act decisively, leaving me no chance. What papers, Susan? I asked calmly, trying not to betray my agitation. Well, my dear, Susan feigned surprise. Papers for the sale of the house. We decided it was the best option for everyone. Do not be stubborn. You know I am doing this for the good of the family. I felt anger boiling inside me. How dare she decide for me, dispose of my property as if it were her own? But I held back. Now is not the time for hysterics, now is the time to act. I will think about it, I replied evenly. We will see on Monday. Susan snorted. Think about it. What is there to think about? It is all decided. Just come and sign. Do not make us wait. I hung up, feeling my hands tremble. I looked at my father's photograph on the table. His kind eyes seemed to encourage me. I will not let her do this, Dad, I whispered. I will protect your house. I called my lawyer, Alex, and briefly explained the situation. Alex, I need your help. My mother-in-law is trying to sell the house I inherited without my consent. She even has buyers and a meeting at the notary's office. Alex listened to me carefully. The situation is unpleasant, but not hopeless. If you have documents confirming your ownership, she can do nothing without your consent. Come to my office tomorrow morning. I will study your documents and prepare everything necessary. I felt a sense of relief. I had an ally. I was not alone in this fight. Ian came home from work late in the evening. He looked tired and dejected. I knew he was aware of his mother's plan and that he was experiencing an internal conflict. He did not want to hurt me, but he could not go against his mother's will either. Ian, I said quietly when he entered the bedroom, your mother said we have to go to the notary on Monday. Ian sighed and sat down on the bed. Yes, she told me. Maria, please do not be angry. Mom thinks this is the best solution. The house requires a lot of money, and we already have enough expenses. I know, I replied. But it is my house, Ian. It is a memory of my father. I do not want to sell it. Ian lowered his head. I understand. But Mom is so insistent. You know what she is like. Yes, I know, I said with bitterness. I know she thinks she can control my life as if it were her own. But I will not let her do it anymore. I looked Ian straight in the eye. Ian, you have to choose. Either you support me, your wife, or you remain a mama's boy who cannot make his own decisions. Ian looked up at me, his eyes full of pain and confusion. Maria, do not say that. I love you, but I do not want to fight with my mother. Then tell her that you support me, I insisted. Tell her that the house remains mine and that she has no right to interfere in our lives. Ian was silent, struggling with himself. I saw how hard it was for him. I understood that he was used to obeying his mother, that he was afraid of her anger. But I also knew that if he did not make a choice now, our marriage would be doomed. I will try, Ian finally said, forcing out the words. I will talk to her. I sighed. Try, Ian. But remember that our future depends on your decision. I turned away and lay down on the bed, feeling exhausted and empty. The fight for my independence turned out to be much harder than I had imagined. But I was not going to give up. I would fight to the end. For myself, for my father, for my love. I could not sleep all night. I tossed and turned in bed, going over all possible scenarios in my head. What would Susan say when she found out I was not going to sell the house? How would the buyers react when they realized they had been deceived? And most importantly, would Ian be able to stand up to his mother and support me? I saw my father's face, his kind smile, his words that I should be strong and independent. And I knew I had to live up to his hopes. I had to prove to Susan that I was not a weak, spineless woman who could be manipulated. I had to defend my right to happiness and independence. And when morning came, I got out of bed with a firm resolve. I would go to the notary. I would meet with Susan. And I would show her that I was not going to give up. I would fight for my life, for my love, for my house. And I would win. Susan arrived at the notary's office with the radiant smile of a winner. Anna and David, the young couple, followed, shifting nervously. They were already imagining summer evenings on the veranda, barbecues, and the peace and quiet they so lacked in their city apartment. Susan had assured them that all the formalities were just a waste of time. She was, after all, an experienced woman. She would handle everything. Ian trailed behind, hunched over as if carrying a burden of guilt on his shoulders. He tried not to look at his mother, let alone the potential buyers. He knew that sooner or later he would have to make a choice, and that moment was inexorably approaching. The notary, a stern woman in an impeccable suit, greeted them with a dry nod. She was used to such deals, to family dramas and hidden motives. Her job was to impartially process the documents, without getting involved in other people's passions. She invited everyone to take a seat at a long table piled with papers and seals. So, Susan, the notary began, putting on her glasses, "Do you have all the necessary documents for the sale of the country house?" Ian, as if waking from a trance, mumbled, "But we do not have any documents, Mom. The house belongs to Maria." Susan shot him a withering look. "Do not talk nonsense. You are my son, you have to support me. All these formalities are nonsense. The main thing is that we are a family and must act together." At that moment, the office door opened and I walked in. A strange man in his middle years with a briefcase in his hand followed me. I was calm and confident, as if preparing for an important exam. "Sorry for being late," I said, addressing the notary. I had some small matters to attend to. Susan turned pale. She did not expect such a turn of events. "Who is this man?" she hissed, glaring at me. "This is my lawyer," I replied calmly. "I think his presence here is necessary." The notary, interested in the turn of events, took off her glasses and looked at me attentively. "Do you have any documents concerning this transaction?" I nodded and took a folder with papers from my bag. "Yes, I have the original documents confirming my ownership of the country house. Here is the certificate of inheritance issued by the notary's office." I handed the documents to the notary. The notary carefully examined the papers. "Everything is in order. The documents are in perfect order. According to these documents, the owner of the country house is Maria." She looked at Susan. "Susan, do you have any documents confirming your right to dispose of this property?" Susan began to gesticulate nervously. "But I am I am his mother. I wanted what was best. This is all for the family. Maria, you have to understand me. We are one family. Family is about respect and trust, I replied calmly, not about trying to deceive me and sell my property behind my back. Anna and David exchanged glances, feeling extremely awkward. They realized they had been victims of a scam. Excuse me, Anna said to Susan, but we do not understand what is happening here. You assured us that you had the right to sell the house. We paid you a deposit. Yes, David supported her. We want our money back. Susan panicked. She realized her plan had collapsed, and now she would have to answer for her actions. I will give you your money back, she mumbled. Just give me some time. You have no time, my lawyer cut in. You made a deal without having the right to do so. This is fraud. If you do not return the money immediately, we will have to contact the police. Susan was completely lost. She felt humiliated and insulted. All her plans, all her hopes had crumbled in an instant. Ian, say something to them, she pleaded, turning to her son. You are a man, you must protect me. Ian, who had been frozen until that moment, finally woke up. Seeing how ridiculous his mother looked, trying to justify herself to the notary and the disappointed buyers, he felt something inside him break. It was not just pity for me, whom Susan had so unceremoniously tried to rob. It was the realization that his mother, the woman he had always considered all-powerful, was in fact an ordinary swindler, ready to resort to meanness for her own benefit. He stepped forward, separating himself from his mother, as if severing the umbilical cord that had bound him to her all his life. Mom, stop, he said, and for the first time in a long time, there was firmness in his voice. You have no right to dispose of someone else's property. The house belongs to Maria. Susan turned to him, and her eyes flashed with a mixture of rage and misunderstanding. What are you saying, Ian? You know I am doing this for the family, for your own good. No, Mom, Ian shook his head. You are doing this for yourself. You always do everything for yourself, hiding behind the guise of caring for us. Anna and David, the young buyers, breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that the situation was being resolved in favor of the law. They stopped shouting and demanding their money back and just waited to see how it would all end. The notary, tired of this farce, cleared his throat and reminded everyone of the need to maintain order. I stood silently, watching the proceedings. I did not feel any gloating, only fatigue. Fatigue from the constant struggle, from the need to defend myself and my interests. I saw Ian showing character for the first time, and deep down, I hoped it was not just a fleeting impulse, but the beginning of his true maturation. Susan, realizing she had lost, changed her expression. The rage in her eyes was replaced by confusion and then by resentment. She gave me a vicious look and, without a word, ran out of the notary's office, slamming the door so hard that the windows rattled. Silence fell. Anna and David, having received their deposit back, thanked me for my honesty and left, disappointed but glad to have avoided a scam. The notary, with a sigh, returned to his papers. Ian came up to me and took my hand. Forgive me, he whispered. I was blind. I let my mother manipulate me. I looked at him with sympathy. It is all right, Ian. The main thing is that you understand it now. After the notary's office, we drove home in silence. The car was filled with a tense atmosphere. Ian felt guilty and dejected. I felt empty. I understood that this incident had forever changed our relationship with his mother, and I did not know what the future held for us. At home, Susan met us with a stone face. She was demonstratively silent, her whole demeanor showing how deeply she was offended. Ian tried to talk to her, to explain that he just wanted to do the right thing, but she turned away, muttering something unintelligible. Tired of this circus, I decided to take the initiative. I went up to Susan and looked her straight in the eye. Susan, I said calmly but firmly, I understand you are upset, but I want you to know I will no longer allow anyone to control my life and my property. One more stunt like this, and no one in this house can count on my trust anymore. Susan said nothing, just snorted contemptuously and went to her room. Ian looked at me with admiration. He had never seen me so strong and confident. After this incident, a new balance was established in the family. Without shouting and scandals, but with clear boundaries. Susan, although she did not admit her guilt, became more restrained in her actions and words. She no longer tried to pressure me and Ian, understanding that it was useless. I decided to do with the country house as I saw fit. I did not sell it or rent it out. Instead, I decided to renovate it and turn it into a place where I could rest from the city bustle and recharge my batteries. I wanted the house to become my personal space, a symbol of my independence and freedom. Ian supported me in this decision. He understood that the house had a special meaning for me and wanted me to feel happy and at peace there. He began to help me with the repairs, and we spent weekends together, working in the garden and fixing up the house. Over time, the relationship between me and Ian became more trusting and sincere. We learned to listen to and understand each other, to respect personal space, and to support each other in difficult times. Ian gradually freed himself from his mother's influence and became an independent and responsible man. New boundaries were set in the family, but that did not mean all the problems were solved. The relationship between me and Susan remained tense, and we tried to avoid each other. Ian felt guilty towards his mother, but understood that he could not betray me and his own principles. It is unknown if me and Susan will ever be able to mend our relationship. It is unknown if Ian will be able to completely free himself from his mother's influence and become the true master of his own life. But one thing was clear: I had defended my independence and shown everyone that I was ready to fight for my rights. And the house, around which the conflict had erupted, became a symbol of my strength and freedom. Ian and I stood in front of the house, watching the sunset. The air smelled of fresh grass and flowers. We held hands, feeling the warmth and support of each other. A new life lay ahead of us, full of challenges and opportunities. We were ready to face it together, hand in hand, building our own future based on love, respect, and independence. The house, a symbol of conflict and struggle, had now become a symbol of our hope and faith in a better future.